am officially 1 year off of hormonal birth control. Here I am, still alive, my heart's still pumping. It's something that I honestly never thought I could do because they only tell us that the cure to all of women's problems is just getting on birth control. That will wreck your mental health. It will honestly, for some people, wreck your self-esteem. A lot of people deal with weight gain and just general self-confidence issues because it fucks with your mood. Before we get started, I just had to show off my new tattoo because this is my first tattoo. As you could see, it's weeping. I guess that's like the term for it. It didn't hurt as bad as I thought it would, so I just feel hella powerful right now. I just had to show y'all before the video started. Y'all, I'm officially 1 year off of hormonal birth control. Honestly, I don't think, maybe you do, but for me, honestly, this is like a trip because birth control is literally pushed onto us for just about anything that's related to women's health. I thought it was gonna be something that I'd have to struggle with my entire life. And let me tell you, it's been a wild ride, to be honest. I've definitely made some mistakes along the way, but I've learned a lot. And honestly, the takeaway that I've gotten and just kind of like the freedom and liberation from the pill that I have felt because of my decision to go off of hormonal birth control is just like amazing to me. It's been like life-changing, to be honest. So I just wanted to take some time today to talk about what the 1 year has been for me, and I guess some takeaways, pros and cons, and just like some things that I've learned along the way without being on hormonal birth control. So to start it off, I guess I should say hello. My name is Sydney. Some of you might know me by the Herb Fairy. And on here, I talk about herbalism, spiritual wellness, holistic living, and lock care. But one of the main topics on a lot of my other platforms, specifically TikTok, has been my sort of like natural birth control journey and what that's been for me. And just to give you some background, throughout my life, I honestly, since the age of, I don't know, mid-teens, I've been on birth control of some sort. And it's typically been the pill. And then for a couple years, I was actually on the depot shot just because of the convenience of only having to go every 3 months. And then I went back to the pill after that because it was having severe side effects for myself and my body. So I went onto the pill for a while, and then officially, I want to say like halfway through 2021, I decided that I wanted to try an herbal alternative, or at least another alternative for birth control, because the side effects that I was receiving from taking birth control were painful, to be honest. Specifically for myself, I struggled with depression. I feel like there was a significant dip in my emotional state and wellness when I was on the pill, and I noticed whenever I would go off of it for a while, I felt significantly better. That was one of the main side effects that I experienced, but I also honestly dealt with nausea. That was another one too. I was nauseous almost every single day, and so that alone honestly was enough for me to figure out what I had to do to no longer have to go through that every single day. But the nausea and the depression were two things that really drove my interest and my research in finding natural alternatives, and if it was even possible. Because honestly, at the beginning of this, I didn't even know it would be possible. I feel like it was more of like a myth, a rumor to me, than it was like a very real, actual alternative solution to birth control. Y'all, say hello to Faye. She wants to be in the video today, so I think she might sit on my lap until she starts clawing at my clothes, because then she's gonna have to go. So for anyone who doesn't know me on other platforms, specifically on my TikTok, I talk a lot about herbalism and holistic wellness and holistic living. And so that's where the bulk of my information about natural birth control is, but also that was sort of like the start to me looking into herbal alternatives. Herbal alternatives is honestly like the beginning of my natural birth control journey, because as of right now, I actually only use herbal alternatives as a form of Plan B. And honestly, what I actually do right now is I track my basal body temperature, and that tracks my cycle. And I'll get into that and how I do that and how long I've been doing that and how I do that, because it's been really cool for me to kind of just like see that process unfold and like what I've learned about myself. But I want to start first at the herbal birth control and herbal plant B So if you go into my TikTok, to be honest, I don't have as many videos talking about it as I did before, just because a lot of those videos started getting regulated more than my other videos. I think it was just a very controversial topic, and honestly it still is. You know, I think mainstream Western medicine and also social media really push birth control onto women and childbearing bodies in a way that is not fair to a lot of bodies and to a lot of people. So at the beginning of my journey, I was actually using neem leaf in pill form as a plant B or an herbal contraceptive. And I didn't actually use it every day. It wasn't a daily routine like you would take the pill. It was actually only used if I felt like there was a possibility of me getting pregnant because I either had sex without protection or honestly just any point in time where I felt like there's a possibility of pregnancy surrounding anything that has happened. And honestly, before starting neem, I had done a lot of research online and also just like reading about the use of neem and how efficient it was, because that was like one of my main concerns, of course, whether or not this is something that only works like 50% of the time, if it's like a foolproof thing, or if it's more just like a myth that exists on the internet. Because sometimes it's hard to tell, to be honest. You know, a lot of things get passed down and lost in translation. So that was one of my concerns for sure, like going on to herbal contraceptives and herbal forms of birth control, whether or not it was truly something I could rely on or if it was something I was being naive about. And just for full transparency too, I am in a long-term committed relationship. I actually live with my partner, and yeah, we don't want a child right now. So when I went off the pill, one of my main concerns was the fact that living in such close proximity with my partner and not wanting a child would be too much for what I wanted to do. It's almost like I felt trapped into the only possible solution of birth control, because it's kind of presented as the smartest thing to do and the most effective way to go about this situation. So yeah, pretty much December 2021 is when I decided I would fully commit to using neem. After doing some research, I felt like that was the most accessible herb and also the easiest one for me to use. I know there's also like Queen Anne's lace that a lot of people use for plant B, and there are other options such as papaya seeds, but for some reason I just really like gravitated towards using neem, and so that's what I decided to use during the beginning of my journey. And I will say, for the first 5 months, I really had no concerns. I was consistent, I felt like it was working well, so I really felt confident in my use of neem up until around 5 months when I got lazy. And I'm not gonna go into that whole situation too deeply today, just because I do have another video where I already kind of like covered that, and honestly it's one of the first videos of this YouTube anyway, so definitely check out that video. But yeah, after about 5 months, I did get consistent with neem and I did end up getting pregnant. I didn't end up going through with the pregnancy, and honestly after that I did consider going back to the pill just for that security. And I also kind of felt horrible too, you know, because I had been talking about herbal birth control and herbal contraceptives all over my platforms because I was using it and it was working. And then for this to happen, I kind of just felt like an idiot. But I will say that whole situation honestly just sort of pushed me to look into other alternatives that I felt more secure in, which is how I came up with my current form of natural birth control, which is the basal body temperature tracking. And this is not an ad or anything, but what I currently use is natural cycles. And I'll show you, all you honestly need though, if you were to do cycle tracking, is a thermometer. And I use the natural cycles thermometer. So yeah, this is how I track all of my temperatures in the morning, and I use the app. The app is really cool. It does period tracking, it does fertility tracking, of course, as well as it gives you space to put in your mood and how you feel that day, and it also provides a lot of scientifically backed research and information about your cycle. So yeah, in March is when I officially started using natural cycles, and I think I will show y'all right here exactly what the app looks like. It does cost monthly. It's about $15 a month to use the app, but honestly I feel like that is a fair trade for my peace of mind and security, to be honest. Since using the app, I've just felt way more secure in my cycle and my knowledge of self and being able to make educated decisions about my actions. So the way that you track your cycle using your basal body temperature is by tracking the temperatures and the rise and the falls in your temperature throughout each phase of your menstrual cycle. So technically your menstrual cycle, day 1, starts on the first day of your period. Following that, it'd be the follicular phase, ovulation, and that fertile window, and then also your luteal phase leading up to the end of your cycle and the first day of your new cycle. So it's been pretty cool, and it's honestly been pretty informational too. I feel like since having to track my cycle naturally, there has been a lot of information about myself and just a lot more awareness of where my body's at, because it requires me honestly to know where my body's at and to be aware and to be conscious of what day I'm in my cycle, or at least what phase I am in my cycle. So that alone has been really helpful, because honestly, one thing with the herbal contraceptives, it was very much just like a shot in the dark each time, you know, like I never really had that cycle awareness to even know if I was in a week where I would be fertile. So cycle tracking has honestly just given me a lot more security in myself, that in a way that my herbal contraceptives honestly never could. And this is not me knocking herbal contraceptives either, because honestly, like I said, for that first 5 months, I didn't have an issue. And honestly, I only believe that I did end up having an issue after that 5-month period was because I myself got lazy and I got inconsistent, and like that, you just can't let that happen. And honestly, how it works too is the more consistent you are with your temperatures and how many cycles you actually track, the more accurate it gets as well. So I would say honestly, I'm on like cycle 8 or 9 now. I think I just entered my 8th or 9th cycle with the app. And so because of that, it's honestly very accurate. I will say that was one thing I was kind of like apprehensive about, whether or not it would be an accurate app, because honestly, before looking into natural forms of birth control, I did not even know that you could track your cycle with just measuring your temperature. And it's not even difficult. It's like your mouth. Like I put this in my mouth in the morning, it takes like 2 seconds, and then it gives me my temperature, and I put that in. And it does all of its calculations on its side, and then it just kind of like lets me know. And so that was kind of like mind-blowing to me, because I honestly did not know that was like a possibility. And so at this point, it's pretty accurate. You know, it's kind of hard to fully confirm ovulation day without doing a couple of additional tests, but it will tell me what day it has confirmed my ovulation, whether or not that's an estimate or like a hard reality. But what I have been paying attention to is when it would say my period would start, and that has been accurate. And that's how I know that the calculations that are happening are actually pretty accurate, and I could trust it, because if it says in 2 days your period's going to start, it starts. No question about it. It's like on the dot. And so after kind of seeing that for a couple of cycles, I started to feel a lot more comfortable with myself and even feeling my body, and using the app as almost like a comparison with how I actually felt. But yeah, the app's also really cool too, because it gives these green days and red days, and depending on how many temperatures you put in, that percentage will either rise or fall. So let's say I've been really consistent with putting in my temperatures. I may have like 72% green days versus 20% green days when I've been inconsistent with my temperature. Everything is based off of those temperatures. So of course, if you put more in, there's gonna be more information for you, and you're gonna have more knowledge about your body and what you're going through. So that's been really cool, because I could literally just like log into the app and see whether or not it's a green day or a red day. And if it's a green day, essentially that means that I am not fertile. And so for the most part, I am free to do what I'd like. Or if it's a red day, it basically means that you should probably use protection, or you should at least abstain from unprotected sex. So that's been really helpful, and it's pretty cool too, because it actually has a partner view. So my man also has it on his phone, and he'll check it when he wants to, or like he'll reference it as well. So it's good because it allows both of us to be a part of this process, and I don't feel like it's just like me tracking my temperatures and doing all the work and making sure nothing happens. And it kind of gives like accountability on his end as well. And speaking about accountability on your partner's end, I highly recommend that these are conversations that you're having with your long-term partner, or even people that you are in close relation with, honestly, because before natural cycles, to be honest, and before I kind of went on this journey, I did kind of feel like it was just like my problem. Like I was the one that took birth control. He didn't have to really think about anything and everything was good. But after going off the pill, it really became a group effort, you know, and teamwork, because as much as there are herbs that I could have taken, there are also herbs that he could take. For example, papaya seed. That's one thing too. When I started Neem, he was also taking papaya seeds, and that was sort of like both of us making an effort to make sure there were no outcomes that we didn't want. And that's why I like natural cycles too, because it allows him to continue to take accountability and to also have options and resources, so he knows more about my cycle as well, because I think that's important. And I feel like that's also strengthened our relationship as well, because he knows where my body's at and I know where my body's at. So yeah, honestly, like I said, it's honestly been amazing not having to deal with hormonal birth control and all of the side effects. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to do this little update, and I guess almost like celebrate it for myself too, just because it is something that I am proud of myself for and I feel really good about. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. Hopefully this was helpful to somebody out there. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and yeah, if you have any questions, honestly, let me know. My DMs are honestly always open on Instagram. I think that's the best way to reach me. And I'm always willing to share about my experience and my journey and give any more information to anybody that needs it or feels like there's something I could offer. All right, so I think that's all I wanted to say. So yeah, until next time, and happy healing.